Appalachian sunrise meets my skin. Even with my eyes still closed, feel it coming in. Golden, golden, I'll follow only golden, 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 golden things. Mountain laurel high fives for miles in spring. Rainbow trout and a hummingbird wing. Golden, I'll follow only golden, golden, golden things. Gold hair, gold rings, gold leaves, gold anything, golden, I'll follow only golden, golden.
Hello lovelies, and welcome to this video. Today I have a little bit of an excerpt on my video how to have a pain-free childbirth. That video has done exceptionally well. I'm really pleased to hear just the women who have come to me and said through either message or in person, you've changed my mind about either having children, now they want to have kids because they're not scared, or that I've empowered them to believe that it is possible to have a pain-free childbirth. And it warms my heart so much to hear those stories, because that's why I filmed that video. It was to help women really know how empowered they are to have children. So today we're gonna have a little sit-down chat in a very I guess more practical way. I'm gonna break down all of the steps that I use to have a pain-free childbirth, and this is not going to be a story time, so that way if you don't have a lot of time to sit through my really long video of my birth stories, you can just quickly go through this and have all the tools that you'll need to have a pain-free childbirth at home. I have some coffee in my cup that says "Be a unicorn in a field of horses." And let's jump right into it. You can go grab a cup of coffee and have a little sip with me. It's really early in the morning and I actually got up before my girls did, so I'm trying to talk a little bit quieter than normal just so I don't wake them up. And the morning is my favorite time of day, so I really love the lighting that I have right now. I'm sitting by my front windows, but let's get right into it. Okay, so birth is one of my, I don't know, I feel like I was so scared of it before I had kids, and then now I'm not at all. I'm not afraid to have any more kids. I'm not scared of it being painful, because honestly with my second it really wasn't painful. My first was a different story. If you've already watched that video, you'll have a better idea of what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to get too much into detail into that in this video just because I want to keep it short and sweet. So these are my practical tips for home birth, specifically for pain-free home birth. So number one is do not be afraid. I know that sounds so simple and so easy to do and so difficult in the moment, because especially if you've never had a kid before, it can be like, what's it going to feel like? Is it going to be painful? Is it not going to be painful? How long am I going to be in labor? Am I going to tear? Am I not going to tear? And all of those questions in your mind really can bring you down and make you feel like, my gosh, I don't want to do this, but I have to. I made a reel a while back about how scared I was to give birth. You know, I wanted to have a home birth, but I was scared of the pain, you know, and it was a funny little reel, made me laugh at least, but it's true. You know you got to do it, but you don't want to do it because you're scared of the pain. So one of the ways that you can train your mind not to be afraid is that whenever you are leading up to giving birth, is like from the moment you find out that you're pregnant, and even before, when you're trying to have a baby or you're thinking about your future pregnancies, even if you're not trying to have a baby, it is really important to train your mind to not be scared of it, to not be scared of childbirth, to not be scared of pregnancy. Why? because your mind becomes like this broken record where it will go over the same thing, the same scenario or different scenarios, and play them out in your head. And when you imagine something as real, your brain cannot distinguish. You know, if you imagine something is real and you're imagining it playing out in your head, and then it later comes, you want it to come to life later. Like if you're dreaming about something, for example, in the good context, your brain can't distinguish between an imagination, a really vivid imagination, and reality. That's why it is so important that when you think about it before you have kids, before you go into labor, that you don't play out negative scenarios in your head of what could happen, because your brain can't distinguish between reality, or between that thought and between reality. It seems really real. That's why you can get even like, you can almost start hyperventilating when you think about things and get anxious, or have an anxiety attack, because your brain believes that it's really happening. When you're playing out scenarios of birth in your head, try not to think about the stories that you've heard. Try not to think about negative birth stories that you've seen in movies, because oftentimes those are very unrealistic, and they always portray them as being extremely painful. I have yet to see a birth on television or in a show that is portrayed as being very peaceful, like I had. And it scares the heck out of young girls and out of women, and then they don't want to have kids, and it's just so sad, because it doesn't have to be that way. So really guard your thoughts, guard your heart, guard what people say to you. Don't allow them to spew their negative experiences on you. Try not to listen to every story that they say. If they start telling you, oh, my birth was horrible and this happened to me and blah blah blah, just be like, hey, I'm really trying to guard my heart, and I would really appreciate, I know that your story is valuable, of course, because it's your story. However, I'm really trying not to be scared of childbirth, and this doesn't help me. And just do that, and you'll be fine. So, and then train your brain to really think about it in a positive mindset. Imagine your birth going the way you want it to. Think about it in a positive way. Now, this isn't a guarantee, obviously, but it really does help your body to be calm and to be not afraid when you do go into labor and give birth. All right, number 2 is try to be as well rested as possible before you go into labor. Now, the reason that I say this is because I didn't do this with my first. I was out, literally, I was in early labor and didn't know it, and I was thrift shopping, and I felt so stir crazy. I wanted to be out of the house. I was tired of waiting for baby. I had already quit my job at like a week before, and I had nothing to do. And or sometimes you'll feel like this urge to just get everything ready, clean your house top to bottom. Now, of course, you're gonna want to do that. It's really hard to resist that urge of nesting, but try to keep it to like, you don't do it all day, you don't stay up super late nesting, and that you take naps as much as possible leading up to your birth. So I would say from week 37-ish, kind of tone down how much you go out, and hang out and walk around. Walking is good though. Walking is good to kind of start labor, but what I'm saying is try not to make really huge events out of things. Try not to overexert yourself, and really try to go to bed early and get good night's rest, because when you're well rested, your body actually goes into labor quicker and easier than if you're not. Your body will also look for optimum times to go into labor. That's why most women will go into labor in the middle of the night when their husband is home, because they feel the most secure, their body's the most relaxed, and that's what happened with me. So I know this from experience. You don't want to be worn out when you go into labor, because oftentimes with your first baby, it doesn't always have to be this way, but it can be a long process, and it doesn't have to be painful, but it is strenuous, and it makes you really tired. It's like running a marathon. So try to keep your body as well rested as possible so that you're not going into labor exhausted. Now, I know this isn't possible in every case, but as much as possible, and as much as possible in the season that you're in, even if you have another baby like I did with Bethany and Adeline, just try to make it the best that you can for the season you're in. Number 3 is have all of your supplies in one spot and go over where they are at with your husband. So I did do this. I had all of my supplies in one spot with my second baby and with my first, but with my first, my midwife was there. She knew where everything was. She had organized everything by the time I gave birth. But with my second, I had everything in like a laundry basket and a box, and I had everything in one room. I had picked everything out. I had all the towels, I had the birth kit, I had the pads, I had the diapers and the wipes. Actually I didn't have the wipes in there and they were looking for them everywhere, but besides the point, I didn't show my husband where everything was, and he was frantically throwing things everywhere to try to find the birth kit and to try to find the baby hats after Adeline was born. And he was just so stressed because he didn't know where anything was and my midwife was not here. So definitely going to be going over that with him next time, including all of the supplies and stuff, because my midwife didn't make it in time for the birth and he had to cut the umbilical cord and all of that. So definitely will be going over the supplies with him and the location of everything next time I have a baby. It will save a lot of headache and a lot of stress on his part. I just want to make everything as seamless as possible in case that ever were to happen again, that he's not stressed out, because I want to make it as peaceful as possible for him too. Alright, so then my next tip, this one I would say is important, but it's not the main thing, but it does help a lot because it helps you to stay calm. So you can use different tools to help with discomfort. You can use warm water, warm baths, especially if you tend to gravitate towards the bath or towards the shower when you have a headache, or if you just don't feel well. If you gravitate towards water when you don't feel well, like when you have, I don't know, the stomach bug, or you have a headache or a migraine, you'll definitely want to generally gravitate towards water and warm water when you're in labor, because it's very soothing, it's very comforting, it gets your mind off of contractions and just helps you to just go with them and allow your body to open up as it needs to have a baby. So I definitely gravitate towards warm baths when I don't feel well, and I definitely gravitated towards the bath when I was in labor with both pregnancies, and it really helped me a lot to stay calm. Pouring warm water over my belly as I was having contractions was heavenly. It felt so good. It really got my mind off of everything that was happening with both babies. And obviously with my second there wasn't much pain, but it did help me to stay calm and comfortable, because if you're cold, your muscles contract more and you have more discomfort and pain. So then the other thing you can use are combs. There's a way to hold a comb. Okay, so if you have a comb, obviously this is huge. You're gonna wanna use those small skinny ones that are black usually. So you hold it like this and then you grasp it right here. The teeth go in here and the flat part of the comb here, and you grasp it like this. And that hits a nerve, and it actually almost acts as an epidural type pain relief. I did not have to do this with my second. I did use it with my first, but it really does help a lot. And you do one in either hand. Warm compresses help a lot, especially if you're having like lower back labor, or if you have discomfort in the front. You can just press a warm compress there and it really soothes the area. If you don't want to or can't get into the bathtub, or you don't have one accessible to you, just have a warm compress, like a warm washcloth. You can buy a pack of them at Walmart for really inexpensive, and just keep them in a hot thing of water. You can get a crock pot and fill it with water and then stick your washcloths in there and then just keep it warm, and they won't be excessively hot, but they will be warm enough to really give you some relief. Now, above all of these practical tips, there is one thing that really helped me in my birth with Adeline, and it was to have a phrase to keep yourself in the right mind space. And my memory card was full, so I'm back now. My last tip was to have a phrase to keep yourself in the right mind space, and this was the one thing that helped me so much. In between contractions with Adeline, I was in the bathtub and I just kept thinking of all these stories of women that I had read leading up to giving birth and how they did it unassisted. Now I would not suggest you have an unassisted childbirth at all. That's what ended up happening with me, because my midwife didn't make it in time, but it wasn't planned that way. There are women that do that, they feel comfortable doing that, but because of some circumstances, I don't feel comfortable doing unassisted childbirth, but I do feel very empowered that I was able to do it unassisted. I just like having somebody else there who is medically trained and able to see if anything is really wrong and be able to go to the hospital. So that is just a preface for what I'm saying. But I had read this book about all these women who gave birth unassisted, and in between my contractions, I really thought a lot about those stories, and I was like thinking about one specific story and then another of a different woman, and I was like, if they could do it, I can do it too. And it really brought me a lot of peace, and it also helped me to just keep my mind in the right space. I was thinking about birthing my baby and birthing my baby peaceably and not in pain. The final thing was, as I was starting to give birth and it started to get, I felt the ring of fire, and that was a really uncomfortable. I remember saying out loud, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that was the final thing I said, and I pushed my baby out, and it was absolutely incredible. That gave me the strength, and saying it out loud and having my ears hear it from me really strengthened my faith in myself and faith that everything was going to be okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to finish my coffee. It's now kind of lukewarm, but that's okay because we had a really great chat, and I hope that this helps you. I believe in you. You too can have a pain-free childbirth at home, and I'm so excited to hear all the stories of you being encouraged, and also your stories of childbirth when you do come to have a baby. So I really hope this helped you out. If you are interested in watching the other video, I will link that down below. I'll put up a little thumbnail so you know what it looks like, and I will see you guys very soon. Have a great rest of your day and stay blessed. Love you guys. Bye.
I follow only golden, golden things. Golden, I follow only golden, golden.